Thank you all for being here. My name is Ari Masevsky. I'm one of the study abroad advisors in the Office of Study Abroad, and I work specifically with Professor Unglob and the Brandeis and Siena Summer Study Abroad program, Brandeis-led program in Siena, Italy. We're very happy this morning to be joined by MJ Khang, who is an alum of the Brandeis and Siena program and has very graciously agreed to share her experiences with us and with the students who are interested in Brandeis and Siena on this program. MJ graduated from Brandeis with majors in art history and English literature in 2016. While at Brandeis, she was involved with the Korean Student Association, the Taiwanese Student Association, and the Architecture Club. She also worked in the Department of Fine Arts as an assistant visual resources curator after graduation before pursuing a master's degree in art history in London. She currently lives in Seoul and works in a commercial gallery in the city. MJ, thank you for being here with us this morning / this evening. I know it's late in Seoul, so thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you again very much for inviting me for the event, and it's certainly a great pleasure and honor to share my experience and reflections with you all tonight.
Well, thank you for being here. If you wanted to start out, I mean, just telling us a little bit about yourself. I mean, maybe introduce yourself to folks on the call who may not know you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Ari, you have already mentioned, I have double majored in art history and English with special interest in the late medieval and Renaissance period. And I was also involved in many different culture clubs, KSA, TSA, and JDID, which was a literary journal publishing works of students from different cultural background. I think it was really important me to think a lot about who I am, to what culture I belong, where I'm from, and all that. So that's why I joined those clubs. And I was also part of architecture club where we had learned how to use certain programs like SketchUp and went to see different exhibitions and cool architectures in Boston area.
And MJ, when you came to Brandeis, did you know that you were interested in art history? Was that something that you discovered while you were at Brandeis? How did you come into the field?
So I applied to school with English literature major, and in my freshman year, I didn't really know anything. So I signed up for 3 English classes, one UWS, and then the admissions department told me that maybe you should, try something new or different. So I was okay, I'll try art history 101 because I was always interested in art. And then I still remember going into that class, and then Professor McClendon talked about Egyptian art, and I was completely fascinated, and I knew this was the thing that I wanted to study further. So yeah, I was like, I'm gonna study this, and that's how I started.
And it sounds like you developed a relationship with several of the art history faculty, including Professor Unglob, who I know you've kept in touch with.
Very fortunately I did. And then that was actually, I took a gap year after my freshman year. So year after I got back to Brandeis in fall 2014. And then I enrolled in his high Italian Renaissance, right? So, and then because I had then only taken introductory course in art history. So that class was really just it opened a whole new world to art history to me. And I loved every single classes and all things that I learned there. So yeah, that was also the beginning point where my interest in Italian Renaissance art began.
And so on that subject, tell us about Brandeis and Siena. How did you find the program? Why did you choose to go on the program?
So that we were the first year students for Brandeis and Siena program. And then it was actually Professor Unglob who recommended that I take a look into the program because I was trying to graduate in 3 years. So I needed to do something in summer in order to gain all the credits. So there was a realistic and practical reason for it too. So I had never been to Italy before. And I was like, okay, it sounds like a cool summer plan. And I was also planning to write my senior thesis in my last year. So it seemed like a good opportunity or cool opportunity to really see artworks that I had studied in class in the place that's already there. So that was my main reasons. But then when we actually got there, it all didn't matter because we were just enjoying it so much. And every single day, the classes and the learning and the short trips and all that, that really uh, that was something apart from learning, but that became really important basis for my for the future, I guess. Yeah.
MJ, it occurs to me that there may be people here who aren't intimately familiar with the details of the program. Do you want to describe what the program was like, the classes that you took, the experience outside the classroom?
Yes. So basically, we took two courses. One, art history, focusing on early Renaissance art, and second one is a studio art. So I think in the morning we took art history course, and then in the afternoon we were just painting. And basically it's like taking courses at Brandeis, but it's just different that what you absorb from the environment, that's a really big key to go to, that's really why you're going to in Siena.
How would you describe the city of Siena?
So I found out that a lot of people go to Florence, but they don't stop at Siena, which is a big mistake because they really should see the medieval city that has been preserved so well for over centuries and millennium. Um, they are, apart from the tradition that they keep, Il Paleo, Sienese people are very proud of their tradition and they're really keen to preserve their culture. So to really feel that kind of passion in that city, and it's not a big city either, that really, in a way, is a cool experience that you won't get anywhere else.
Have you been back to visit Siena since the program?
I did because I pursued my master's degree in art history, and my focus was on Sienese art. So I was back in Siena in December of 2017 for my research trip, and then after I finished my master's, I was there for a couple of days. Professor Unglob was there in Siena, so I went to see him and his family, and also just to say goodbye to everything before I came back home. So yeah, and then also I think I did a short family trip to Siena in December too. So yeah, I've been there 3 more times after
Okay.
then.
So you got to share it with family as well.
I did, yeah.
That's so wonderful. So we've talked about your experience on the program. We've talked about why you chose the program. And obviously it had an impact on you if you continued to do your master's work in Sienese art. Um,
Mhm.
what do you feel you got out of the program, Brandeis and Siena?
Brandeis in Siena program. Wait, I wrote down just some. Um,
Were there certain reflections? What do you feel you got out of it?
I mean, academically, my strong interest and passion really developed from that point. That's why I pursued my master's degree in art history and then really chose to focus on that time period and Sienese art. But also, my career-wise, studying in Siena not only was, like I said, stimulus to pursue master's degree with certainty, but also it became my basis uh, for my long-term plan, which is to pursue PhD in art history, or at least in the art-related field. And I'm not sure when that will be, but I eventually want to follow that path. So really, that summer that I spent in Siena really paved the path for who I am now and who I will be in the future. Yeah.
Looking back at your time on the program, what would you say was a highlight of the program, and what would you say was one of the challenges?
So, like I said, every single day was just fun to walk around and take short trips to neighboring towns and eat something good and all, but definitely having short excursions to Florence and San Gimignano and Venice for Venice Biennale. We went there to see the very new and fresh moment of contemporary art in Venice was such a nice and interesting juxtaposition to what we had been then studying. And then it was really interesting and fun to make connections between the gap between those two, the medieval and the contemporary now present. Yeah. But like I already said, every day was just fun day and walk, a simple walking around the streets that all the artists that you love had lived like 700 years ago, and then to breathe the air of the medieval city and to see and literally feel the artworks that you have studied only on screen in class, and to hang out with people who are not necessarily art history or studio art majors. They really bring new perspectives in seeing art together. So all these are really truly small highlights of this program, I think.
Is there a memory from the program or something that you remember being a challenge while you were on the program?
I thought about it too, and it this might not be a challenge per se, but I would say getting truly immersed into the city itself really takes time. So we are all strangers to the city, people, tradition, language, and culture, and everything. And because we were literally placed right into the everyday lives of Sienese people, we definitely had to. And it definitely took time to pick up how to become Sienese for those weeks, at least while we were there. But it was challenging, but dropping yourself in a completely new culture it is always challenging, but you learn something from it. So it's worth it and fun. And especially when you're with your friends, it makes it even more interesting and fun.
Well, and I think that's one of the really interesting aspects of this program is that it's primarily Brandeis students who are
Right.
studying in Siena together, who are taking the
Mm,
courses alongside a Brandeis professor, either Professor
hmm.
Englove or Professor Wardwell.
Right.
Do you remember interacting with the staff at the Siena Art Institute a lot? That was obviously our home base, is our home base for Brandeis and Siena, and a lot of those
Mm,
folks are Sienese. Did they
right.
try and help you acclimate to your surroundings?
So uh, actually, I forgot to mention, apart from the art history course and then studio art, we also took basic Italian, conversational Italian. So, I mean, we could only speak something like ciao or something like that, but that made Italian or Sienese culture more friendly. And then we were courageous to really improve our basic Italian. So we were just trying out more languages and all that. So that was one friendly aspect. And also the professor Roberto Fineschi, who taught art history in my first year, he was also very passionate about he's Sienese himself too. So he's very passionate about teaching what we are learning and bringing us to these cool places and um and all that. Yeah, that was really that made it all the more friendly.
So tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing since graduation. You worked for the fine arts department for a little while, and then you went to get your master's, and now you're in Seoul working at a
Mm,
gallery. Can you
yeah.
talk us through that timeline?
Yes, so I graduated from Brandeis in May 2016, and then I worked as an assistant visual resource curator with Jennifer here in the fine arts department for about 8 months, where I also learned and saw a lot of modern contemporary art because I was taking photographs and processing the photos into images. And that was really learning art without going to museums. So I really loved that. And also, I think it was a cool opportunity for me to be exposed to the school environment. Then I pursued my master's degree in London at the Courtauld Institute of Art, University of London, with special focus, like I said, on the late medieval Sienese art. And I wrote my MA master's dissertation on Duccio di Buoninsegna's Maesta altarpiece and how its original frames, functioned as a metaphysical embodiment of ways of seeing. And then I got back to Korea in the summer of 2018. And I started working in Korea's oldest commercial art gallery and still working there since February 2019. So since then, I've been just working.
And so at the gallery, what are you doing day to day?
So I'm an exhibitions and sales associate, but now I'm focusing more on international art fairs, which unfortunately, because of this situation, I can't go, but we hope to participate in upcoming art fairs in New York in May. Yeah, hopefully if that happens. And also in the Netherlands, there's another one upcoming in September. So yeah.
Really neat.
Mostly, we, as the oldest commercial art gallery, we represent a lot of important Korean artists here who are still alive. So we try to promote Korean artists to the global art market.
It's amazing.
Mostly Western art market.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Would you say that your experience studying art history at Brandeis and then in London, and also specifically on Brandeis and Siena, what impact did that have on your career and on your decision to pursue what you're pursuing today?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult question because there's a huge time gap between what I have studied and what I'm working now. There's 1,000 year of gap, but I think it's mostly what I have developed in Brandeis, not only on campus but also going to see. And I was really my love and passion for art. I just love looking at good art, beautiful art. But I also find it a bit challenging at the moment to work with a lot of modern contemporary Korean art mostly. And I really need to study a lot, research a lot into artists and artworks, and then the art movements and all that. And also, I don't know. It's my personal preference, but I still find Sienese art more beautiful than. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Yeah, but yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. One of the things that I remember from one of the times that I was in Siena is how different it is to look at some of the art that we're studying on site in Siena in person compared to looking at it, on a PowerPoint or in a book.
Right.
It's such a different experience.
It is.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be there in person and actually experience the art while you're there instead of studying it from afar?
Yeah, I mean, it may sound like a cliche, but the artworks, to see it in person in that architectural surrounding or museum or Siena Cathedral, the artworks really become alive when you see it in person. Not only the colors, but all the characters and all the figures and the expressions and all that. Just to be face to face with the artwork, it really starts a internal conversation with the artwork itself, and that's something that you won't experience anywhere. And then that is really one big reason to go to Siena and study art history there. Apart from Siena being a really important art historical place where early Renaissance began.
When you think back on studying abroad and getting to experience some of the art in Siena, are there certain skills that you learned while you're in Siena that you feel like you're still using today in the gallery when you go to work?
One thing that we really did in Siena was to look closely and then look slowly. So when I go to museum, usually I would look at a work for like if I mean, I would look at it for like 30 seconds or 1 minute and then go next work. But then in Siena, you really take your time to look at the art and then really you really face it yourself. So that I and then I learned from that. I learned that from Siena, and then I tried to train myself to do that, because in that way you get to see a lot more than you think you can. And when I work today at the gallery, when I come to face an artwork, I still do that. Yeah, it became kind of a habit. That's something that, yeah, everyone should do, but not everyone can do. Yeah.
And so, based on what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you feel like your studies, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how would you say that your studies at Brandeis prepared you for your time after Brandeis?
Mm, I think it sums up what I have said, but academically, I developed my interest and really deep passion for medieval and Italian Renaissance art, which ultimately led me to pursue my master's degree and learning from these amazing professors and staffs who I look up to with respect, who are who are truly sincerely passionate for what they do. It really showed me the path that I want to follow in my life. And personally, at Brandeis, this is not only from Brandeis in Siena, but also just my time at Brandeis. It was a true opportunity for me to confidently and courageously open up myself and immerse myself to a new environment, people, language, culture, and everything that surrounds me. And my time at Brandeis was a stimulus that pushed me forward and built who I am now and enriched who I am as a person. And I look back, I was not outgoing. I was very timid, and I was always quite defensive, quite not open-minded. But I think at Brandeis, I learned to become more open and try to embrace what is ahead of me.
I always think it's so nice to hear reflections, and hear sort of the journey that folks have been on.
Mm.
I would love to ask everyone who's on the call, if you have questions for MJ that you'd like to ask, please feel free to put them in the chat. I have one more question, MJ, but then I would
Mm.
also be happy to open it up to questions from anyone else who's here, students, staff, or faculty. So MJ, we're on a call with a number of Brandeis students from all different years, all different areas of interest. If you were talking to a Brandeis student now, which you are, what is a tip that you would give them about something that they should do or something that they shouldn't miss while they're at Brandeis?
I think my answer is more general. I always tell myself, if not now, when? Like this moment will never come back. And I think that the future is basically an accumulation of these passing, ungraspable moments. So technically, I really am who I will be, and so just make the most out of the moment. And I guess that's one thing. And the way to do it, at least for me, is to throw yourself out there and embrace what's ahead of you and study what you're passionate about. That I really say, study what you're passionate about. Don't think about your future job or yet. Don't think about that yet. And meet a lot of different people around you. They don't have to be from your major, and experience everything and opportunities, everything that opportunities allow you. And like Professor Unglop here, he's always said to me, he's just like, just do it, whatever it is. So I would say the same thing, just do it. Yeah.
Wow. It certainly sounds like you made the most of your time at Brandeis, and we so appreciate you taking the time this morning / this evening to share some of your experiences at Brandeis with us, and also specifically studying abroad at Brandeis and Siena. If there are folks on the call who have questions or things they'd like to ask MJ, please feel free to either put it in the chat or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask it directly. I see Professor Unglab. I think you might have a question.
I was just wondering if maybe MJ would like to share what kind of date, apart from the classes and where you visited, what daily life was like in Siena, and in terms of
daily life
and everyday routines and the food and all the other aspects
yes
of life besides the art. Of course, is the
so
but there's the whole package.
right, there's a whole package. So every morning I would wake up, and because where I lived was about 15-minute walk from the school, the Siena Art Institute. So I had two other roommates. So we would wake up early and take a walk around the city, and then there's a cafe right in the four corners. It's called something Cantoni, which I can't remember. So we would get a cappuccino and a croissant there, and then go to class. And then we'll take class, and then come back for lunch for a panini or pizza, and walk around the city a little more, and then went back to class at 2 p.m. Yeah, we were painting for like 3 or 4 hours, I think. So yeah, and also it was quite hot, but yeah, that was our daily routine. And afterwards, we'll go out for dinner, and just walk around the city a lot more, or just sit down in a cafe and drink a little bit of wine and food, and go to bed early. Yeah, that was really our routine, daily routine, which sounds amazing.
What about happy trash?
Oh my God, yeah. So there was a gelato place going to school and coming back from school, and then the trash can had this happy face, and with its mouth open, that's where you throw your trash. So we didn't know the name of the place, but we just decided to call it the happy trash can, and then we'll just stop there every day and just yeah, get the gelato, and maybe just sneak out from maybe I shouldn't say this in front of Joe, but yeah, we would just sneak out for like 5 minutes and get gelato again, and then got back to class just to paint more. Yeah.
What
Sorry.
was your average daily consumption of gelato?
2. Yeah, 2
But
or
you'd only
3.
one scoop at a time, or
No,
no?
I would get 2. Yeah, and
Two
then I would
different
only
flavors
get
and the
like
whipped cream.
I know I wouldn't get whipped cream. No whipped cream for me. Yeah, yeah.
MJ, would you say the program was a lot of work?
So the classes are longer than your regular Brandeis classes. I think it's like 2 hour or 3 hour long, and then painting itself is also 3 hours, I think at least. So it's more workload than you think it is. You still have to read a lot of text, and we also had 2 presentations and an essay to write, and then the final exam. So still, while you're eating a lot of gelato and drinking a lot of wine and walking around the city a lot, you still have to work a lot too. So it's a nice balance.
MJ, I'm wondering, as someone who was going on the program with an art history background, how did you find the studio art course was for you? Had you taken any painting before that point? Were you prepared for that, or how did you adjust if you hadn't?
So actually, that was my first studio painting course, and it wasn't easy for me to actually just being really focused on one thing for a few hours and paint. But I think it was all the more interesting because we were painting in the old master's way with basic sketches, and then painting grisaille. That was it. Painting with gray tone to shade, and then paint colors on top of it, which was following how the Italian masters did. So to really execute painting with with knowing the theories, I thought that was just really cool experience. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
Are there other questions from folks on the call? MJ?
Maybe, sorry, I was going to ask another one. To maybe tell us a little bit more about your master's research and how that maybe intersected with some of the things that you had learned on the Brandeis and Siena program?
So that's a really cool question. So basically, my MA dissertation was examining the architectural structure, original architectural structure of the Maesta painting, which some parts of it you may see in the Siena del Duomo, the museum, and then some parts of it have been lost, and some parts of it have been recreated in modern times. So I was thinking, I think my basic question started from this. This this Maesta altarpiece was originally placed in where the well, I forget the name of it, where the main dome is, underneath the main dome. So that was its original location, and this had this Gothic architectural frame. So how would an audience, you could be a priest or you could be just a lay person who's just going to your regular mass, how would people experience this artwork instead of just seeing the artwork within this massive, monumental, gigantic, amazing architecture surrounding Siena Cathedral? How would this architecture within architecture would have been experienced by person who's really, because for now we can't really get up too close to the Maesta paintings because they're quite fragile at this moment. Not fragile now, but then back then people could have really walk up to the painting and see it like really close to you, so they could really observe the facial expressions, the small really subtle gestures, how people walk and present themselves, and then really see the paintings, the different episodes of the Passion of Jesus in the back panel, and the architectural framing itself. So that really, I thought that might have been completely different from how we see the artwork now. So how does that go back to Brandeis in Siena? Like I said, we were able to spend a lot of time in front of an artwork. So I think I started from that habit, that looking up closely, and then how would people look at this artwork up closely? How would they experience it and feel it? And to imagine that artwork in its original place. Yeah, that was my interest point.
MJ, we were talking about this a little bit before the meeting started, but do you still keep in touch with folks from the program?
So I do still talk to some, like 4 people from program, just because I'm not on Instagram or Facebook, so I'm not as easy to keep in touch. But one friend, I think I shared picture with you, Ari, Kalam from the program. She's in China, and she's also working in a commercial gallery. So from time to time, we just talk about, oh, are you going to be in that art fair? Or if I go, I'll see you there, or something like that. Yeah. And another friend, Leslie, she's now in China, and she's working in a broadcasting company. So I think she pursued film in her master's. So it's a different field, but we still learn something from each other and share new experiences. And yeah.
Absolutely. Are there other questions for MJ?
I have a question.
Hi.
I work as part of the Office of Study Abroad, and I wondered if you could talk about having been so immersed in this day-to-day, very Italian and study-focused environment, and then returning to Brandeis, and how that sort of experience worked for you when you came back. You know, did you what was your immersion back into Brandeis after being, you know, CNEs for a couple of weeks? Really feel like.
I love Brandeis. I love school. I love school campus. But after spending a few weeks there, it was a bit difficult to come back. I didn't really want to come back, but I had to. Um, but then I thought I would just go back there if I wanted to. You know, I did. We never knew we would face this kind of COVID situation. So, it was always Siena was always a place where I would love to go back, especially with my friends and family, and I did. Coming back to Brandeis, though, that was my final year. So I was very busy with taking classes and writing my honors thesis. And but what I saw there, what I really experienced there became they really helped me a lot with writing my thesis, just to visualize and imagine.
Thank you.
MJ, is there anything about your study abroad experience that you think we haven't talked about that you think might be important to share with students interested in Brandeis and Siena? Is there anything you think we missed?
So actually there was another, I mean, I can't think of anything at the moment, but I have a Korean friend. He was also in Brandeis and Siena program. He was in third year program. And then he's now in Korea, and then he's also working in a commercial art gallery. So I just happened to see him once. And then we talked a lot about Brandeis and Siena, how that was just such an experience that you won't have I can't say you won't have in your lifetime, but you can only have that experience when you're there at that moment. So it's something that we both really don't regret. Something that's so something that's so magical in a way, something that really felt like a summer dream. Yeah. So if you are really definitely interested, and if this COVID situation gets better and you could go back, you could go there, I would say, why not? Yeah, really go there.
It's so wonderful to hear. And for us in the Office of Study Abroad, it's so nice to talk to folks who've been impacted by the study abroad programs at all different times. I mean, it's wonderful to talk to somebody who was on the program several years ago and still talks about it with so much, so much admiration. If you're on this call and you're interested in learning more about Brandeis and Siena, I would be happy to talk to you, or Professor Unglob, who's the faculty director, would be happy to talk to you about the circumstances for this summer, applying to the program, what the COVID-19 situation is in Siena right now, and how we're making preparations and planning. And so you're welcome to reach out to either of us if you're interested in learning more about the program and submitting your application. The application deadline for Brandeis and Siena for summer 2021 is March 18th. So just a little over a month from now. So definitely now is the perfect time to be reaching out and starting to ask some questions.
And also, if you go to the Study Abroad website, there's an excellent video about Brandeis and Siena and the Siena Art Institute, and MJ is in that video. So you might want to check it out if you want some visuals to go with her anecdotes and her memories.
Yeah, I hope.
Please reach out to me if you're interested in the program. I'll be leading it. I'll be leading it this year, if it happens, of course. Okay.
I hope my reflections were not too sentimental, because I was looking back 5 years ago. I think I was just reminiscing a lot, and then I got a little sentimental, I have to admit. But it is a holistic experience, I think. So if you really get a chance, then yes, throw yourself out there.
I think your reflections were informative and impactful, to see the impact that the program had on you while you were there, but also in the years that followed as you continued your master's research in Sienese art and, really took the lessons from Brandeis and Siena with you as you moved on from Brandeis. So, last call for any other questions if anybody wanted to ask something of MJ. Well, in that case, I would love to thank everybody for being here on this Wednesday morning. MJ, thank you so much for joining us and
You're
sharing
so welcome.
your experiences on Brandeis and Siena.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.